Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day, and we actually have a lot of things occurring right now in the after hours and especially in the overnight session. Of course, with the whole facing of the government shutdown, we'll be talking about kind of my personal reaction and not just my reaction. What is the data showing us historically? We'll be looking at that. On top of that, some of the big stocks that we've been talking about, more speculative stocks such as ASTS comes out with a major announcement regarding a launch schedule that we're going to be talking about. We see a lot of buying pressure right now as we speak in the overnight hours, and we'll be, of course, covering stocks like we've been talking about all the time. Palantir, Hood, BMNR. How are these stocks all doing? And especially with Palantir that has a lot of governmental ties, how is their price action trading facing a government shutdown? Long story short, it's not really what you would expect. If you are a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. We hit 27,000. My goal is to hit 30,000 by the end of the year. Let's see if we can do it. And I'm talking on X a lot more. So look down in the description if you want to hear me talk more about this market mumble jumble on a daily basis. Now, if you pop it up here, Palantir right here at 182.42. It's actually up about 2% on the day. In the after hours, comes down about 1%. Well, you can see Palantir right here is starting to catch a little bit of momentum right here, kind of testing the waters of a potential breakout. We have some volume that's coming in for Palantir and, kind of sitting in this consolidation area, waiting for its next leg up. If it gets past and breaks out through here for the next leg up, that's where we can see the testing in terms of a short term and all-time highs, of course, around that 190 area. And then I still think $200 by the end of the year for my personal price targets. I still think that's on the table. That's always subject to change if we have any big changes in the shift or momentum or kind of psychology behind in the markets. But Q4 is looking quite good for the markets. And historically, we've seen some positive news. In terms of a government shutdown, Palantir is holding very well. We see that currently even in the overnight hours right here at 181.31, only down about $1. Palantir here, amid this government shutdown, this has been talking about X, the biggest bullish even in the human history. Talking about this, this just shows you the resiliency with Palantir. Even though they have a lot of governmental ties, I've talked about this before. Anytime Palantir makes, if it makes some major moves or some swings, it all of a sudden will just kind of hang out. I mean, look what happened in the 150s here. Palantir just hung out, consolidated, waiting for their next catalyst. That's just going to come, not a matter of, if it's going to happen, more of a matter of when it's going to happen. What's going to be that catalyst to push it to 200? Who knows? But I think it'll come by the end of the year. One of the big things that we do have, of course, Amit had posted this, that Congress has failed to pass the spending bills offered by Democrats and Republicans, setting up the stage for the United States government to shut down at midnight. My own personal reaction is I really don't really care. That's just because I'm looking at previous historical data in the S&P 500. Typically, we don't see a lot of volatility due to just the governmental shutdown. In terms of right here, S&P 500 index, it's at 66, basically 90. It's near the 6,700, which is basically the all-time high. So if the government shutdown here near the all-time high, I'm not going to sweat here at all. You do have, of course, some fear, uncertainty, doubt that's starting to be trickled in there. Talking about here, saying that 2 attempts have been made by the Republican-controlled Senate. They basically failed to temporary spending bill on Tuesday. You have both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats, of course, both blaming each other right here. Saying here the stock market has typically glided by previous government shutdowns, but of course is here. But this one could be riskier given the slew of economic factors at play. Concern about the slowing labor market and inflation risk. I mean, we already know that the labor market's slowing down. Inflation rate, this is no new, the market's already always pricing in further movements and anticipations. It's forward looking. So we already know this information. Talking about here, in terms of the S&P 500 performance during government shutdowns, what we've seen is look at the last one that we had here, like in 2018, for 22 trading days, the average daily return during the funding gap was 0.5% basically. So the market's just either kind of held consistent, consolidated, or has done quite actually well in terms of a melt-up rally. Of course, they always say this time is going to be different. It could be different. Yes, there's any type of risk that's in the market. If we do get a 5% pullback that everybody's been kind of waiting for, but it's still not here yet to come, that is where, okay, the dip buyers are probably going to sit in, because everybody that's been waiting for that August and September seasonality with a lot of cash on hand has not really got that big dip that the market's been calling for. Of course, it could come at any time though. So with this news, the Labor Department here, what's going to shut down, meaning that the September non-farm payrolls report is not going to be released at the end of the week. No jobs data. And this is going to, they're saying here, what is this going to mean for interest rate decisions? The market's kind of already pricing in two more 25 basis point cuts for end of the year. So I just don't see a ton of volatility being sparked up with this. I think actually some bullishness once it reopens. In terms of Robinhood, let's talk about that. You have Vlad here, one of the big bullish things for Robinhood, and we see it just continuing to soar at 130, now at 142. My golly. Robinhood right here, a big thing. I think that it just shows here with the execution of the presidents and the products that Robinhood offers. Seeing that Q3 was their biggest quarter yet of shipping Robinhood Gold cards. They're up to 450,000 card holders with over 45% growth this quarter alone. I'm still on the wait list. I've been waiting for months and months and months. Please, Robinhood, I want that 3% cash back. It says Robinhood here in March said that they increased the amount of people with a Robinhood credit card from 100,000 to 200,000. Then in late June, they were on pace to get 300,000. So they have 3 million people on the wait list. If this shows you a lot of demand in terms of supply, that holy Toledo, have you ever heard of 3 million people on a credit card wait list? No. And what you see here in the prediction markets we talked about yesterday, how that's just soaring in terms of capital coming into Robinhood. This is your one-stop shop app for all things finance for the next generation. And we can see that price that is representing that in clear reality. So Robinhood is going to continue executing. It's cool to see here, just to see the data that's supporting it and continuing to be very bullish on Robinhood. Let's talk about ASTS. Now we've been talking about ASTS working on satellite, basically connection for phones, direct device to working with these mobile network operators, not building their own operating or their own network, but working with things like with companies like Verizon, AT&T, things like that, to offer direct to satellite connection, which could bring a lot of connection to a lot of users worldwide that don't have cellular connection if they can connect by satellite. We see ASTS breaks out about $5 here in the overnight session. This was at about 48, kind of hanging out here at a strong support level that we've seen technically, pushing up here to about 53, and we do have some resistance right here at the 55. So it'll be interesting to see how this opens up once the market actually opens up. The big news that we have here is another satellite, Bluebird 6, has completed their final assembly and testing and is ready for flight. What we've seen uncertainty in why, in terms of a whole sci-fi project, that the criticisms and the shorters have been pushing on ASTS, which has a big short interest to my knowledge. In terms of their whole kind of speculation, a lot of people were saying, when are we going to get kind of this launch schedule? When are we going to get more concrete information about satellites actually being put up into the air that can give us more of an idea of, hey, when is revenue going to be coming in? When are, the actual, you could say, fantasies going to become a reality? When is that going to occur? Well, we get the statement today that Bluebird 6 here has finally completed their final assembly and is ready for flight on October 12th. It's just in a few short weeks. It's going to India, and it's going with a large cargo plane. So you can see here, they're officially kicking off their next generation launch campaign. You got Bluebird 7 also expected to ship to the Cape Canaveral launch site in October. And then you got Bluebirds 8 through 16, various productions launching every 1 to 2 months on average during 2025 and 2026. Wow, this is a big roadmap that they just laid out here. On track to complete 40 phased arrays by early 2026, bringing us to Bluebird 46, expecting 45 to 60 satellites in orbit by year end of 2026, and that they have partnered with 50 plus mobile network operators serving nearly 3 billion subscribers. The total addressable market here is pretty astonishing in terms of, if you extrapolate this out and if ASTS continues to execute this roadmap successfully, then their share price, I think, will represent this execution here very very successfully in terms of their flexible spectrum strategy, blending their own licensed spectrum with partner spectrum. So wow, great execution there. Let's talk about the last stock right here. Tom Lee, BMNR. You see him here hanging out with the prodigy, the creator of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, discussing the comprehensive alignment between Bitmine and Ethereum. You can see here, Tom Lee, I like him a lot. Very bullish on BMNR. I am personally, in terms of their whole power of numbers, the alchemy, trying to achieve the 5% target of the circulating supply of Ethereum right here, with Ethereum's current price sitting around here at the 4,100 zone. You know, it's kind of retaken the support from the bottom at about that 3,800, that 3,900 area. So right here in Q4, we have a lot of liquidity on the sidelines, a lot of stable coins, market capitalization, and a lot of governmental type of political friendliness in terms of developing, you know, clear roadmaps, regulations, set rules for crypto, which kind of gives us more of a clear roadmap on where they plan to go with this whole type of new financial sector that's really emerging into the traditional financial markets. Very bullish right there. In terms of the stock price, it's kind of been hanging out in the mid 50s, talking about an accumulation zone. That's where a lot of people are calling this right now in terms of a technical perspective. If we see any type of gap up, once Ethereum maybe gets a pop, if we see a lot of bullishness or a lot of liquidity coming in, then that's where you could see BMNR. It's probably going to test here the 62, 64 area before. If it breaks out there, then that's back to kind of that whole price discovery area, and it's back up on the run up. Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.